have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kazmina welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. You found the Genesis Frequency podcast, all about personal development, professional development, leadership development, spiritual development, the total person concept in every area of your life. We're looking at improving, helping to improve you. But you can only go so far in a podcast, right? And I talk to people all the time who are considering doing more to improve their lives, to move into their field of experience, really the life they would love to live personally and professionally. And so many just do the investigation of how they can improve and what methodologies are available, but yet they stop short. Why is that? What is, if there is, a stopper for you? What are your fears about taking it to the next level in your own personal life, in your small business, in your corporation, if you're a decision maker, or just a critical element of the team? And you are a critical element if you are part of a team, and you are part of a team if you are employed, right? So what's stopping you from taking it to the next level? And a lot of people I talk to, well, I listen to a podcast like yours is great. I get a lot of value, a lot of information. And I always I always share that reminder that, hey, most people place little to no value on that which they get for free. And it's true. It's unfortunate, but it's true. But there is tremendous value here. So some people say, yeah, I listen to your podcast and I listen to this podcast and that podcast. I get a lot of value out of that. Well, the listening, that's good. It's the repetition that where we get the value, where we make the changes. People say, well, I read a lot of personal development books, self-improvement books. Great. That's wonderful. You read a book. I encourage you not to read many books, to study a book for a long period of time. My mentor and teacher, Mr. Bob Proctor, studied something in Think and Grow Rich, a page or two. He would spend months on a couple pages. He spent his whole lifetime studying Think and Grow Rich, a portion of that book every single day of his life. See, it's not in reading. How many books can I read? I see it amuses me when I see posts all the time. I read 47 books last year. How many did you read? Like it's a competition. Because what we run into is, well, I'm not going to say that yet. I'm going to save that for a few minutes here. What else can we do? We read the books, we listen to podcasts like this one, we maybe we attend a webinar or a workshop, an afternoon workshop or something at work that's maybe it's a lecture style. Maybe somebody's talking about some principles. Maybe we take a few notes. We write that down. We watched a PowerPoint or a movie. That's another one. I watch some movies. I watched a documentary. I learned from other people. I watched some autobiographies and biographies. Okay, great. What else? Well, I went to a 3-day weekend gig. It was by Tony Robbins, or it was by, Grant Cardone, or I went here, went there, and yeah, I'm working on those things to improve myself. Okay, you went, you were motivated, and that usually wears off in a few days, that motivation. Okay, that's cool. What else? Well, I took a class on leadership at the community college. Okay, great. What is the process, though? That's my question. What is the process for changing you? Most people start short. And what I was getting to when I stopped myself earlier is all those things are great. The motivational speakers and going to workshops and reading books and studying books and enrolling in a program here or at your community college. The problem is there is usually, not all the time, but usually very little, if any, retention of the material studied. Very little retention. And there is usually very little application and action. How do you take this material, apply it in your own life, take action on the principles shared, and is there any accountability? And that's where so much that is out there really falls short. Who are you accountable to? You're accountable to yourself. But boy, do we tend to let ourselves off the hook easily, don't we? And we just buy into those excuses. No, well, I couldn't today. I was too tired. I had a headache. No, boss gave me something else to work on. Personal development, leadership development, professional development, it starts with a commitment, just like anything else in life, whether we're going to work on maybe releasing some weight, improving any area of our lives, improving relationships, our health, whatever it is, requires a commitment. But what I really want to drill down to is, why haven't you taken any action if you are someone that hasn't? Because what we really want to impact and influence is your behavior when it comes down to it. We want to modify behavior and influence a behavior change. That's the only way that you are going to experience different results, by changing the behavior that has led you to where you are right now. And most people I talk to, they don't want to be where they are right now. And maybe you've accomplished some great things in your life, but maybe you feel that, well, I just got to this certain point and I can't go any further. Maybe you've had a lot of dreams and desires, but you didn't get very far at all, and you're scratching your head wondering why. There's reasons for this, but you gotta ask yourself. There is so much available to you, and I do this work. More and more of the work that I do now is in the corporate space and corporate environment, working with teams and small groups to improve performance, productivity, enhance communication, improve organizational skills, to really help people develop, to improve profitability, sales skills, help leaders to coach and empower others on their team. I work with all these things. But you got to take the next step. You got to do something. So I want to ask you a question here today in this episode. I want to ask you a question. Really would like you to consider this. So I'm going to probably ask a few questions here in this episode. And and when I ask this question, I want you to consider not just your professional life, your work environment, and your career. That's one area that we work on for sure. But all leadership development begins with personal development. There's really no way around that. And all your professional goals should be tied to some personal goals and vice versa. You got to have something in it for you. You can't live your life just working on someone else's goals. They should be intertwined. But before I ask this question, I want you to look at every area of your life because if you followed me for a while, if you listen to these podcasts, if you followed any of my social media posts or anything on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, you know that I look at several areas of life and living so that we can improve in every area. So we're looking at, of course, our career and professional development, finances, time and money freedom, finance and career is one piece of the total person concept. How about mental and educational? This is not something, one and done. We don't take a class. We don't participate in a program and then we're done, right? We looked at what we gained. Was there profit in there, or did we avoid a loss? But mentally and when it comes to our education, educating ourselves so we move ourselves to a place of understanding. What are your goals in that area? What are your goals when it comes to social and cultural? What are your goals for your physical fitness and for your health? What are your goals in the area of spirituality and ethical behavior? What are your goals and what are your aspirations for your family and home life? So, all these areas, family and home, finance and career, mental and educational, social and cultural, physical and health, spiritual and ethical, all pointing back to you. What do you want to experience in your life? What is the life you would love to live? So, I ask you the question, how long can you afford to put off who you really want to be? How long can you afford to put off who you really want to be? Because the majority of people do that. And if you are someone that's working on you, constantly working on you, working to be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday, has a list of goals, has goals written down, great. But what is the process? What is the application? What is the action? Where is the accountability? And if you're like probably 99% of the companies and individuals that aren't doing anything or are doing something that is inefficient or ineffective, how long can you afford to put off who you really want to be in your company? Let's talk about that for a minute. How long can you afford to put? I hear so many people, so many companies or decision makers say, "Oh, well, we do an in-house training program, and we're all set in that area." Really? How are you measuring your return on investment? Are you measuring it? What kind of results are you seeing? You have to know that just because so many people and so many organizations say, "Well, we're doing it. We're participating." Well, what are you actually doing? What results are you achieving? What are you getting out of the training that you are doing? Well, our employees said they really liked it. Well, what are they going to tell you that they didn't like it? I mean, they may talk amongst each other and say that, but usually the feedback at the end of those things, everybody wants to come across as being, a team player and a positive frame of mind, right? There you're going to get, but but what it comes down to, what about the behavior that's changed? Is the behavior changing? Is the performance of the individual improving? Is their productivity following an upward trend? How about the company's profitability, right? How about communication? Oh my God, I could go on and on and on about that, about the inefficient ways we communicate internally and externally. And I'm talking about organizations that think they're doing a great job when it comes to communications. It's appalling. But so often, and I'm not making a judgment here, I'm just, this is an observation that I see all the time when I get deep into an organization. But so often leadership and individuals within the organization are so close to it. Yeah, we're doing a great job. We're transparent. We communicate. We communicate every day the mission and the vision. Really? Might be time to take a look at that. How long can you afford to put off who you really want to be? How long can you really afford to put off what you want your company to be? Your alignment with your vision, with your mission. Excuse me. So these are good questions to ask yourself. What can you do to improve performance, productivity, enhance communications, improve communications to the point where they're effective and efficient? I would suggest that you hop on a call with me and we just have a conversation about this. Because so many people have so many excuses and they got them down pat. They want something more. They bang their fist on the table in the company, the corporation. Like, oh, we're going to get this done and we're going to do it now, whatever it takes. But you're not doing whatever it takes. You have to make an impact at the level of behavior in order to experience significant change. And there's only a few methodologies out there that really do that. There's very few programs that influence change at the level of behavior. I'm proud to say I'm a franchisee of Leadership Management International and celebrating 65 years in business this year. And we have all this down pat. Proven return on investment all the time. It doesn't fail. The individual might, but it doesn't fail. The process doesn't fail. It's results. So I encourage you to reach out and let's have a conversation about that. Or if you're just working on you as an individual, I can help you with that as well. But ask yourself some serious questions. Ask yourself questions about these areas of your life. Where am I right now? Where do I want to be in a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Do I have some clearly defined, crystallized goals? And are they written down? Have I defined my why? Why do I want what I want? Who else is involved with all of this? What team members do I got to get on board with these goals and ideas, with this vision? In every area of my life, am I satisfied? Am I experiencing the life I would love to live? We ask these questions and we looked at training as a company and it just didn't fit into our budget. That's the worst way in the world for you to make a decision personally or professionally by basing it on how much you think something costs. That is horrible. And there's been research and articles written on this for years and years and years and years. It should be based on the desire to improve, the desire to change, the desire to transform. Transformation, making an impact at the level of behavior to improve results may at first glance seem expensive, and maybe it is in one way. But what will it cost you, your company, you as an individual, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, to never experience the realization of your dream and your vision? You can't look at cost or expense. You have to look at it as an investment. And you have to participate with something that shows you a clearly defined return on your investment. Then there's no cost at all. Well, I'd buy into that program, but we got to do the budget, and it's just not in the budget this year. What's not in the budget? Investing in your people, I love some of the vision statements I see out there. We invest in our people, and they don't do a darn thing to invest in their people. So come on, let's look at all these areas of our lives. Well, we only focus on leadership development. Well, leadership development really comes out of personal development. We have to first get a handle on our time. We have to be efficient when it comes to our personal productivity and our personal performance and take responsibility for that. We have to really get a handle on managing priorities, getting time handled in the most efficient and effective way. This is not something that you can train somebody to do. Developing yourself into a leader contains a key word, and that's development. Training is one thing, and it usually doesn't last very long. Development is a process that takes some time and has to be done in a certain way. So all these areas of an individual's life, we talk about the total leader concept or the total person concept, the areas that I just shared with you, family and home, finance, career, mental and educational, and so on, because they're going to impact the employee, the team member, the individual as a leader. When we have a crystallized goal in every area of our lives and it's tied into our professional goals and ambitions, they all work together to improve the total person. So I see that we're running out of time and I could just go on. I wanted to come on here and ask that one question. How long can you afford to put off who you really want to be, what you really want your company to look like, what you want your small business to be? How long can you afford to put that off? So we're going to continue with some other questions as we move on into the podcast next week. I know this this isn't a real sexy podcast. This is more of, hey, am I taking responsibility for living the life I want to live? And listening to the show is great. It's a great start. Tremendous value in all my shows. This podcast is in its seventh year, hundreds of thousands of downloads, and approaching 350 episodes, all filled with valuable content. Great stuff. But you got to ask yourself, am I applying what I hear, what I learn? Am I taking action on it? Am I changing my behavior? Is there any accountability built into this? Let's have a conversation. Successappointment.com. Get you on my calendar. Successappointment.com. My email is Stephen, Stephen, at successocean.com. That's my company, Success Ocean International, a franchisee of Leadership Management International. Reach out. Let's have a conversation. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to do it for today. You've been listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast, all about personal, professional, leadership, and spiritual development. And I am here with you. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. And by that, I mean reach out. Let's have a conversation. Let's make this a point in time where you say, yes, I want that. I want that more than anything else. I want that goal to be realized in my life, in every area of my life. So I'm going to write that down right now. And I'm going to reach out and have a conversation with you and get this done. We're going to knock out some major goals together for you, for your team, for your company, for your corporation, your ministry, your organization. Let's do this. You've been listening to the Genesis Frequency Podcast with Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmina, and I wish for you an infinitely spectacular day. God bless you.